Okay, talk to me more about that then. You mentioned GSP, you mentioned Khabib. When you watch jiu-jitsu, when you watch MMA, who are some of the fighters that you admire and why do you admire them?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. Yeah. In terms of like the top of all time,
Yeah, you can go there too. Let's start there.
yeah, like again, GSP.
Mm-hmm.
I just love GSP, man. His philosophy.
By the way, GSP is George St-Pierre for the people who have no idea what we're talking about. It's not like a car or anything.
Yeah. So yeah, he's arguably the welterweight goat. He's never been popped for PEDs or anything, which I think is cool. And yeah, he often spoke about playing and improving through playing. If you compete, obviously you're working on what you're best at and on a game plan, and that's your focus. But whilst you're out of camp, you want to be playing because that's where you improve. So his approach to training was always that sort of idea of how can I learn through play. And so that would be bringing pace back or bringing sort of intensity back a bit, just trying things. Again, GSP pretty much embodies humility, you know, like everyone's flawed, but he's like, if you had like a poster of like the martial artist, I feel like he embodies a martial artist really well. And again, like if you look, he's never too proud to learn from people. So he'll go to a boxing gym, box and learn. He'll go to jiu-jitsu, he'll learn from Danaher, that he'll get subbed by Gordon Ryan. He's fine, he doesn't mind because he knows that through that he's going to refine his game. So that's why I love him, man. I just think his whole outlook on life is just so good. And he applies it to training so well. And then the results speak for themselves. How he's literally, every loss he had, he came back in the bench there, you know, and he's, you can't deny him. Yeah, he is the example, I think, of what a fighter should try and be like.
I completely agree. I think, when you mentioned the fact that he was training other sports just to get better, that humility is so important. I think everyone has that kind of like, you can identify too much with what you do and be like, oh, I'm this one thing. I'm an MMA fighter. That's all I want to do because this is what I'm good at. But then you get stuck in a box, you know. I think him going and working with John Danaher and like all these other people and Gordon Ryan, it shows that he's just full of love of the game.
Yeah.
He just doing it because he just loves it. And like, he's just so invested in like, how can I make this? How can I just do this thing that I love? How can I be better at it? You know, I think a lot of figuring out about life, to kind of bring back what we were talking about earlier about finding meaning.
Yeah.
It's like once you find that thing that you enjoy, to make it fun for you.
Yeah.
So you just have to play with it because like literally jiu-jitsu is play. Like remember when we were kids, we just running around trying to like put each other in headlocks and stuff like that. You get older and now you're doing a competition, you think, oh no, I don't want to still have that play aspect, you know?
There was tangent there too, which is cool, yeah. Even like animals, they're always rolling about. Like if you look at gorillas, monkeys, like all the primates, they're always rolling around, which I think is cool. Sometimes it's funny, like you watch it and you're like, oh, he's here with a double leg. You're like, he's got a good guard recovery, putting his foot on the hip. And like, you're like, that's crazy that they're just learning through play.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, that's what we do. And then,
Absolutely.
you know? And then as siblings, they're rolling and they're playing. And then later on, it translates into actual fighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what we do.
Absolutely.
We're not that different. We think we are. But, you know, we have that whole, like, the spirit, the mind. But we also have animalistic tendencies, and I think that's cool. Like we can get in touch with that by rolling around and strangling each other without any repercussions.
And then laughing off and like, you know, hugging each other at the end. No, but I think it's so important too, because like I think kind of cool we're talking about the kind of the through line of this episode. It's like I think it's about finding how to be more yourself. You know, like, you know, just in this world we live in, everything's so like different. You know, technology, this. We're so removed from that animal kind of kingdom that we used to live in, right? But it's like when you just do jiu-jitsu and you're sitting there, like your body is exhausted, like you're tired. In that moment, nothing else matters than your tired body. Nothing else matters than...
Bro, it's so true. No matter what you have going on in your life, when you take it to the mats, it all goes away.
It goes away. You know, it's like gym. Like you were talking before about how it is like kind of like therapy. It's like it's that kind of I feel that in the moment I'm in jiu-jitsu, I'm like, God damn, I'm so happy I'm here. It's like that feeling. Obviously, it's endorphins, but it's also like you're tired, your arm is hurting. You know, you're gonna have to go when that bell goes. You got like 10 seconds left, but you just know that in the moment, like this is kind of like the most important thing in the world. And I think that's so important to have those moments. I think a lot of part about life, I want to ask you this question too. A lot of part about life, I feel like we live life on like a filter. Everything is filtered, you know, we don't experience things like fully. If we see some things on the phone, if we hear some things, you know, it's like through another lens, you know, but like very few times in life, kind of like jiu-jitsu or even competing, which I want to talk about to you about, it's like, there's no filter there. When you compete, it really is you, it's raw. So talk to me about competition. Talk to me more about competition, how it is for you.
Yeah, I mean, so I haven't competed jiu-jitsu for a long while, to be honest with you. But yeah, the last time I did, so I did ADCC UK. I went with Pierre actually. And also I've done a lot of gi comps as well. So yeah, normally when you go there, it's like, for me, I'm not going to give anyone an inch, because that's where it's game time now. In the gym, ideally, if we're training properly, you should be sort of learning and refining and put yourself in bad spots. In comp, it's game time. So, you know, you go with a game plan. So again, mine's normally the takedown. I heard Pierre talk about this too. You normally, all right, what am I going to do? It's normally like, all right, what's the plan? So you kind of look at him and you're like, I'm going to take him down. Also, learning to sort of not peak too early, like adrenaline dumping's a real thing. Again, like, it doesn't matter what the sport is, all combat sport, you adrenaline dump if you don't manage your emotions properly. So I like to like listen to like reggae, something on the way. You don't want to like get down. Yeah, that's not that's not ideal. Like, you'll be tired before you even started the fight. So yeah, you'd rather like chill, try and be around your friends. I like that side of it, which is why it's so cool in jiu-jitsu, because your whole team's there, you know, and they're right mat side with you normally. So that's the approach I tried to take.
Let's start from the beginning. What's your like diet? Because this is something I'm learning, right? Because when last time when I went, I just thought, oh yeah, I was gonna be like, you know, get a good night's sleep, wake up, I'll eat whatever, and I'll turn up at the session. But as soon as I turned up, because the adrenaline was pumping, my body knew I was gonna fight. It straight away is like toilet, because I just knew that. So like that's one thing I'm learning too. So what is it like for you? Did you learn to like fix your diet? Did you learn to sleep properly? Like preparation before the fight?
Again, like, it's very relative, because I've heard very mixed opinions. So this is only personally, although I've met many better fighters who don't do this. I don't eat anything heavy on the day.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's important. If we're gonna have anything, have it light, maybe a bit of chicken, a little bit of rice. But you know, you want a lot of carbs in you, but you don't want to be like heavy. You don't want it sitting in your stomach. That's the worst feeling. Like, I don't know, I've been to an open mat before after eating a pizza. Like, literally just feel like I'm about to, like, you would have throw up on them.
Nah, yeah, because you're just moving all the time. You don't kind of the time. Yeah,
So you think about it, sitting in your stomach so much. Then also bread, because bread, when it's in your stomach, it compresses, it sits. So it's like, it's a big loaf that sits in, it's like heavy, it's a ball in your stomach. So scientifically, I'd probably avoid like any heavy carbs too much. But I've seen fighters eating Mackies, and they're fine. Because at the end of the day, if you have like a 8-week camp and then you weight cut, you know, your body's finished anyway after a weight cut. This is more like high level day guys. Also jiu-jitsu guys, if you weight cut and that. But when you carb load, that will help. I just personally would rather not eat a Mackies before I fight. Like, that's not what I want every edge I can get.
Yeah. So no, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. And then, okay, so before you go on the mat, do you have any like rituals? Do you have any things? What's going through your mind? How are you preparing to go? You talked about like, you're looking at the guy, I'm going to bring you down. What else were you thinking?
I jump up and down with my headphones on. That just makes me feel like, it gets my body moving. I don't know why. It's just, something that I started doing when I was younger. Like, you don't want to just be, I mean, some people at work, if you're just standing there mat side, just wait for them to get called, it's not really, you want to be sort of, what did you like? Yeah. And like zoning in, and also like probably talking to yourself a lot. Again, like it comes out, it always becomes more of just a life thing, but it's all about self-affirmations. If you're telling yourself, I'm going to win this. Even if, you know, GSP again, I always bring it back to,
It's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. But he always talks about picturing himself in bad positions and then getting out. which is different to pitching yourself in bad positions in isolation. Because what he's doing there is he's still picturing himself winning, but he's mentally preparing himself for the worst scenario.
So when he's in that position, it's normal. It's like I knew this would happen almost, you know.
Yeah, which I like. I like that attitude. I'm gonna win. Doesn't mean I'm gonna absolutely dominate. You want to go in with the intention of dominating. It's game time, ideally, but at the same time, sometimes it's not gonna be like that. Sometimes you're gonna get slammed on your back or judo thrown, and like, you know, in front of the whole team, and you have to have the fortitude to be
They're like, guard up. Okay, talk to me about that when you're in that bad position. What's going through your head? Obviously, having been there, people are shouting at you from the sidelines, telling you to, like, you know, escape, move, all of this stuff. But you're in that moment, you're tense, you know, what's going through your head? What conversation are you having with you? So,
not much, really. Lots of spasm. Yeah, no, seriously though, like, if you're on your back like that, you need to try and calm yourself down and remind yourself that the fight's not done. So yeah, like, not letting your emotions overtake you. I think that's ultimately, like, the best athletes that you see, they're great at that, you know. And so I think being calm enough, but it's hard to think about technique when you're in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So often muscle memory takes, and also having faith that your muscle memory in them situations will take over.
yeah.
You know, you have to have faith in the process. You've already worked hard. You're at the comp. If you're in a bad position, just, you know, the prep will carry you through.
Yeah, that's another question I had too. I think I'll spare this too. It's like when you're fighting, when a fight begins, are you thinking tactically or you do think everything's just instinctually?
Yeah, I feel like it's more instinctual,
Right?
although, like Pierre said, I feel probably at the beginning you have to have a game plan.
Yeah.
It's like the same in boxing. So like, there's so many variables that it can get overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it can just be this: as soon as the bell rings, I'm throwing a 1-2, and that's it.
That's the plan they have, because you know that once you do that, then you start getting, and also you fall by so much that, you know, like, you know, I think that's what's so important too. Because I remember even when I, you know, fought, I've only competed once, but when I fought too, it was like I had this whole plan about how I was gonna, like, you know, approach the start. But then when it starts, your body does take over, because you're like, I think because you've been in those positions so many times, it's like, what did I do last time in this position? Rather than, okay, this person is this, you know. And then a lot of that is just like, you're figuring out a lot of stuff. Like training is so important, like practicing and visualizing yourself in these positions, because it becomes like your mind would take a life of its own, but your body also is like, is reacting to that kind of, like, you know, that the tension and all that stuff. That's the beautiful part about it, man.
Yeah, that's why it's important to compete, you know. Then it's just not about competing at the highest level, you know. Like, I'm not sitting here telling anyone that my way is the way to be. There's so many people who are so much better than me. But I'm just saying, like, you will learn through competing a lot about yourself.
100%.
You know, and the ability to overcome situations where, like, I can be a hot mess. Like, that's how I'm an overthinker. You know, my face will flush. I'm like shitting myself. So that's really good, because if you overcome that, even if you don't win, it's like, you know, like, I made it more than I thought.
100%.
So
Talk to me about that, then. What's the biggest lesson losing has taught you about yourself, or about even jiu-jitsu as a sport?
yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah, probably like, what it's quite cliche, but it's true, always true. When you lose, you get better from it, because you often, obviously it eats you up as well. If you're like, what the fuck happened?
Never again.
Yeah. There's a video of a guy watching something on his laptop. He just goes, so I feel, I'm like, why do you do that? Like,
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
So later, what? So later.
so you know, from it, you know, like, you get caught in like a sub. You're like, all right, cool, what exactly happened? Like, obviously I panicked here, or I did this wrong, or what part of my game could I work on? Also, like, losing in the gym is probably as applicable, although in comp, probably you learn more about what your main go-tos are.
100%.
Yeah. And then when you kind of lose, you learn what, normally there's like a pattern, a trend of where I'm getting cool, though. So that's probably, yeah, just try and be objective about it. Try not to get too emotional.
So obviously you don't enjoy watching yourself back when you lose, but it's important, right?
Yeah.
That's an important part.
Yeah, it's important to acknowledge it. Yeah, again, it applies to life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So like, they
It's so interlinked. So 100%.